First play we're going to look at, 2nd and 2, one of the Patriots' first offensive plays.
What's going on, everyone? Mike Kadlick, Tayler Kyles here for CLNS Media as the Patriots just wrapped up day 13 of training camp, their final one open to the public. So we're here for a quick recap here on Patriots Daily, powered by our good friends over at Prize Picks. Remember to head over there, use code CLNS for $50 instantly after you play $5. Taylor, a good back and forth practice to close out training camp with the fans. We'll go through some takeaways, we'll go through attendance, and we'll talk about some observations. First and foremost, who was not here was Christian Gonzalez, Jalen Polk, Josh Minkins, Ramondre Stevenson, Jelani Tavai, Kendrick Bourne, and Elijah Ponder, who had a good game on Friday night, so tough to not see Ponder out here. And then same with Jalen Polk, who Mike Vrabel says will not make the trip to Minnesota. So thoughts on attendance, specifically Jalen Polk not being out here, again, with his team dealing with injury throughout this training camp.
It's just been so unfortunate. It's another setback. And Jalen Polk, like when we asked Mike Vrabel about him, not that Mike Vrabel's throwing guys under the bus even if they're playing poorly, but he told us that he stayed up on his work, he was taking the mental reps and wasn't making mental mistakes when he was out on the field. Now, obviously, because he missed so much time, it kind of pushed him down the depth chart, limited the opportunities he had. But now with this injury, we really didn't get a chance to see what he could have done later in action. As we know, the offense really started to hit its stride late in that game. So unfortunate for Jalen Polk. Hope he comes back stronger than ever, but obviously have no idea what his status is at this point. Elijah Ponder, like you mentioned, a guy who showed up a little bit on defense, but especially on special teams as a blocker and as a tackler. Him not being here, hopefully, we know Lan Larison was reported by Doug Kite. He unfortunately landed on injured reserve. Hopefully it's not the same thing for Elijah Ponder. And Ramondre Stevenson, I wonder if that's kind of a workload thing. Didn't look like anything happened to him, but of course we'll find out as that progresses.
Do you think Jalen Polk is IR candidate at this point? They're going to cut him. What's your thoughts on his standing in the room right now? Because again, he hasn't had a chance to show himself pretty much all summer, in and out with the injuries, and now he obviously not out here with that shoulder injury again.
Pretty much at the same point I was in the post-game show where, he's just missed so much time. And we already know this wide receiver battle is very tight. Javon Baker and Efton Chism were really the guys who looked like either they're battling for a final spot or they could both potentially make the roster. And Jalen Polk seemed like he was on the outside looking in. So it does seem like he's probably going to land on injured reserve. If it's a significant injury and he has to miss extended time, that's just going to push him back even further. And for a second-round pick, you were thinking you'd like for them not to have to cut Jalen Polk, because obviously he probably would make it through to the practice squad. So it looks like this could end up being a redshirt sophomore year for him, unfortunately.
Yeah, tough stuff. Him not going to Minnesota tells me that it's a longer-term injury than just something he could have kind of shaken off from Friday. So
because Gonzo's going to be in Minnesota. Now, Vrabel was kind of joking with us and saying, you might see him. Doesn't mean he's going to be practicing. So if Gonzalez is there and we know he's nursing a hamstring, he should be fine for week 1, and Jalen Polk isn't. As you mentioned, that's probably significant.
Yep, so we'll keep tabs there. You mentioned Lan Larison headed to IR. Unfortunately, season ending for him, which is tough considering he was sort of one of these fan favorites, along with Efton Chism as well, who we'll get to later on. Marcus Bryant leaves practice early, who had been the backup swing tackle behind Morgan Moses and Will Campbell, and then DJ James leaves practice early as well. Tough stuff for him, so we'll see what that turns into, but he's had a strong start to camp. The cornerback room continues to deal with this attrition on that side of the ball.
It's tough. Offensive tackle and cornerback are two of the spots that just feels like have been hammered by injury. Offensive tackle, not quite as much. That's just really been a bit of a depth concern. And Marcus Bryant, you can go on my Twitter. I had a little cut up of his play in the preseason game. I actually thought he really impressed. He's a guy who played 42 college games. It shows in his ability to recover, his poise, and just his general awareness. So there was some leaning. Mike Vrabel actually seems to be a big Marcus Bryant fan. He said he loves the energy he has and mentioned that he's really worked on his pad level, because Bryant's like, 6'7" or something like that. He is a very big man, so obviously it's difficult for guys that big when you're playing offensive tackle to be low enough that you're not just getting bull rushed. I thought Marcus Bryant, he did lean a little bit much, still kind of getting him his feet under him, but he's been looking good recently, so hopefully it's nothing too serious for him. And DJ James, another guy who had a really good game against the Commanders, looked good. I think he had a pass breakup or something before it was a target he had before he left the practice today, but unfortunate, man. It's opportunities for more guys to step up. Of course, you saw Miles Battle made a play today. He's been competitive as well, just as I mentioned, everybody in that room has been, but you're hoping it's nothing significant for those guys, because they could have some big opportunities considering the attrition we've seen at those positions. Although, did get Carlton Davis back for the cornerback room, and Caden Wallace back on the offensive line at guard. He was back at the backup left guard spot.
A couple promising ins and outs from there on the injury side. So let's break down what we saw saw at practice today. Offense a little bit shaky. We'll start with them. I thought Drake Maye looked comfortable at times. Pocket was okay until really the end of practice, which we'll get to in the last red zone drive that they ran. But I thought shaky stuff from Drake Maye. A drop from Stephon Diggs was unfortunate, and then Mac Hollins had a couple drops too. He looked good at times, and then he kind of came in and out throughout the practice. So what did you see from the offense? How do they improve off of? They look good on Friday. They come in today, and things don't look great. So what did you see from the offensive side in general?
I thought it was kind of sloppy from the offense, to be honest. Drake Maye almost got intercepted twice. There was one. Demario Douglas lines up in the backfield, runs a sit route. Christian Ellis was all over it, nearly picked that one off, wound up doing push-ups as a punishment for himself. Nobody told him to, but, got to respect him for that. And then there was a throw that Craig Woodson almost intercepted. He confirmed after practice. He did not secure it. But looking at the throw, I wasn't exactly sure who Drake Maye was targeting, and I've given him a lot of praise for not throwing into bag windows and avoiding some of those turnover-worthy plays. Didn't see that as much from him today. He did have a really nice touchdown throw to Stephon Diggs on a corner route, dot to the back of the end zone. But I thought this was a day where Drake Maye also had some high throws where my favorite Drake Maye game sometimes, is it an incompletion that he just missed, or was it a throwaway? So there were some that I wasn't totally sure about. But again, I've been singing Drake Maye's praises. I thought he was pretty disappointing today. And like you mentioned, Mac Hollins, he had at least one or two touchdowns. Now, they were off play action. Not all of them were as impressive. There was a crossing route that got broken up. But I've been a bit disappointed by Mac Hollins' inconsistency. There are times where, like you mentioned, he'll catch a ball and have it in his hands, gets batted down. There's also been the drops, and you kind of see that on his tape as well, especially against press coverage when it's tight. He's not my favorite guy to necessarily target. I think he's much better against off coverage, but just a sloppy day from the offense at times where it felt like they had opportunities to score touchdowns. But to that same vein, also got to give credit to Efton Chism.
Thank you. That was where I was going with this.
Okay, he had the catch of the day today, and he's impressed. There was one opportunity that he missed, but he got separation against Marcus Jones. Now, Efton Chism, he was still working with that second offense in Joshua Dobbs, but he hasn't gotten a ton of opportunities to go against some of the better cornerbacks on this roster. But that time, got a little bit of separation from Marcus Jones. The ball was thrown slightly behind him from Josh Dobbs. Efton Chism goes up and boxes out the cornerback to make the catch. He just continues to impress. Not quite as automatic as I think he can be, but also he's a rookie. Maybe my expectations are too high. I was impressed. But overall, as bad as things were at times for the offense, I got to give praise to the defense.
Yeah, they were good today.
Mike Vrabel started this practice by saying that they struggled in the red zone against the Commanders. They didn't get any stops and said, hey, we're working on those tight areas today. Let's hope they're better. And there were plays that looked like they would be touchdowns that were punched out. The guys were flying all over the place. The run defense was pretty stout as well. Caleb Chason back at practice was giving fellow LSU alum Will Campbell the work, especially in a late period. Looked like he got a few consecutive wins for quick pressures where Drake Maye would have been sacked but was able to get some completion. So I thought the defense definitely stepped up, but I would have liked to see tighter play from the offense.
Yeah, I thought overall, Efton Chism, you mentioned, he was the player of the day on Friday night in their preseason game, led them in receiving, receptions, receiving yards, then obviously had the touchdown from Dobbs. Continues to impress today. Yeah. When are they going to give him a chance to run with the true ones in Drake Maye? Because you don't see it that often. It's a lot of him and Josh Dobbs out here. But you said he goes up against Marcus Jones, who was the starting cornerback today, makes that leap and grab. He continues to look like someone who's comfortable in the offense, who the quarterbacks trust to go with the football, and he makes catches as well. There hasn't been drops from 86, so really good stuff from him. We also saw Trayvon Henderson make a nice play earlier. They ran like a misdirection pitch to the left side. He runs around, finds the outside, and then basically runs through. I forget who it was, but he tried to run through a corner pretty good. He continues to show that speed and also the bruising stuff, so impressive stuff from the running back. And you mentioned the defense. Mike Vrabel calls them out before practice, as you said, and they come out and have a good day, really all across the board. But Kyle Duggar continues to fall down this depth chart. You mentioned Craig Woodson had a good day. Kyle Duggar ran exclusively with the twos today. It was Jabril Peppers, Jalen Hawkins, and Craig Woodson as the top three safeties in that rotation with the first team, and then Duggar falls to the second team. So what's your read on the situation here with number 23, and do you think, at this point, I think he's off the roster. I don't know how it happens. Do you think they would be able to get anything for him on the trade block, or does this just feel like it's over for Kyle Duggar in New England?
I know we've kind of talked about him being on the trade block. I don't know who's taking his contract because we know teams do research. Like they look up on beat reporters and things to see how guys are performing if they end up being available somehow. And I don't know that we've said a whole lot of good things about Kyle Duggar because the whole thing with him has been he's a guy who kind of plays how he plays. There's some boom or bust, but usually there's more boom, so you're willing to put up with some of the mistakes. I can't remember really any plays he's made this summer, and obviously he missed some time early in the spring and then got back. Maybe he's working working his way back from that ankle injury I don't know that he had last year and had surgery on, but he just doesn't look like the same player, not quite as explosive, not really around the ball quite as much. So I really don't know what happens. I think you keep him on the roster because you're paying him quite a pretty penny. I got to check the contract to see if there is any benefit to cutting him. I'm not sure if there is, but it was disappointing because it's one thing if Craig Woodson's rising, right? Because this is a guy who's coming from a system that had an NFL-style scheme to it. He's very mature. Like when you talk to him in interviews, like you can tell he's not like a typical rookie who seems nervous to answer questions, doesn't want to say the wrong thing. He's very poised. I thought he was going to be the defensive rookie of the year for this team, so not surprising to see him climb. Like I said, he almost had an interception against Drake Maye, but the fact that Jalen Hawkins is over Kyle Duggar, nothing against Jalen Hawkins, like he's somebody who clearly has some respect from this coaching staff and has been active going back to the spring, taking advantage of the opportunities when Jabril Peppers and Kyle Duggar were out and continued that in the summer. But he's not the kind of guy where at his best is going to give you anything close to a Kyle Duggar at his best, which tells me from the outside looking in that they just don't really see a whole lot of benefit to Kyle Duggar running with that unit. We'll see more against the Vikings. Hopefully we see more of the starters because it is that second preseason game. But yeah, a big stock down for Kyle Duggar, unfortunately, and stock up for Craig Woodson and looking good for Jalen Hawkins as well.
I'm glad you kind of mentioned it the way that it would be one thing if he was passing Jalen Hawkins in the depth chart and still getting reps at the ones with Kyle Duggar in the mix, but he's passed Duggar as well, which makes the the alarm bell that much louder. So we'll keep tabs on them. You mentioned he'll be in Minnesota. Brian Hines will be out there as well for Patriots Press Pass. So Taylor and Brian will have recaps out there as they hit joint practice next week. A couple final notes here. I did notice Christian Barmore continue working back on the side, which nothing to sound an alarm about, but he continues to work back from his health scare last season. We mentioned Larison on IR. Shaky day from Drake Maye.
Kicking competition, actually.
Kicking competition. What'd you see from them?
Yeah, so today Parker Romo had the edge. I believe Andy Borregales missed. He went 3 for 4. Parker Romo, a perfect 4 for 4, and he just continues to impress. I really didn't think much of Parker Romo. Now, he didn't get really many opportunities last year, so we didn't know a ton about him, but what I had heard was he was a guy who wasn't really good from distance, but was better short. There wasn't a ton of distance on the kicks today, but the guy's been automatic, so I still think that Andy Borregales, as long as he doesn't just enter a slump, is going to make this team, but Parker Romo, potential trade chip at the end of the offseason.
I'll throw Javon Baker in there as one final observation, too. Getting back there with the kick returners, working with the Gunners for the kickoff team.
The only offensive player who was working with the Gunners.
Yeah, it was a bunch of blue shirts and then and Baker down there as a Gunner as well. So he was asked after practice about it, and he said, I'll do anything on special teams, whatever the coaches ask me. He goes, I'll kick if I have to. Yeah. So he's someone who he seems to have had a sort of a mentality shift from last year where it was up and down for him. He didn't want to seem to do much talking when he did. Not that he was saying the wrong things, but he was not. Didn't say like he was happy here last year. Things have changed. He was asked about Vrabel, huge smile on his face. He was asked about him.
Likes the hands-on style.
Yeah, when he came off the field on Friday when he made that kick return or kick-off tackle. So he has an inside track on special teams here, which I think is promising. I wonder if they do end up keeping 7 receivers, but we'll see where it goes from there. But and the arrow continues to go in the upward direction for Javon Baker. Any other final thoughts here before we get out of here?
I want to leave because I'm melting.
It's very hot out here. That's why we're quick and dirty recap here on Patriots Press Pass on Patriots Day. So make sure you keep it here on the channel, rate, review, and subscribe. Pat's back again on Monday. Taylor and I will be here for another post-practice recap. So until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we will see you soon. Peace out, everyone.